Welcome to Before, During, After, a Smirk Experience podcast about performance from the inside. Every week, I'll sit down with a professional comedian to unpack how they prepare for a gig, what they're thinking about while they're on stage, and how they reflect once it's over. Because great performances don't just happen, they're built. This week's guest is Ben Clover, a brilliant comic who's done hundreds of shows himself and also helps other comedians with their festival shows. Ben and me discuss how the work for shows starts way before you even get to a venue, how proper preparation allows you the freedom to wander off topic every now and then because you know you can get back on whenever you like, and how analysis can change your mind about what happened at a show. Plus, the inner workings of why Ben got his Edinburgh Fringe audience every night to throw their shoes at him while he sung Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You. Enjoy. Ben Clover, what first made you think that you might be able to do stand-up comedy?
I think it might have been in geography class when some we had this quite wacky geography teacher, and I was sat at the back, and he said something, and I can't remember what it was, but I made some brilliant rejoinder, and no one heard it, but the really loud kid next to me heard it, repeated it really loud, massive laugh, and I was like, ah. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I could be a writer for loud people. And then I thought that actually looks quite fun. Um, so yeah, the next stage was came from spite, basically. I was at university, and this quite annoying person was swanning around telling everyone they were doing stand-up comedy. And I was like, "You're doing stand-up comedy? Maybe it's much more accessible than
Yeah.
than I thought." So, yeah, no, it didn't come from a good place at first.
No.
But
That's
yeah,
a,
yeah,
that's
that was my thinking.
that is a good answer indeed. Ah,
Oh no,
crap.
have you frozen?
I
Or have I
haven't.
frozen?
You
Well,
frozen for me. Ah, you're back.
sorry, mate. Yeah, I don't know. My internet connection was unstable, which is normally no problem here. So I'm sorry. I'll keep.
You
Uh,
were you were pulling a face a little bit like old man Steptoe for about 10 seconds. Harold. Anyway, you're back with us now. So after that first thing of writing jokes for the loud kid in geography, did you then kind of cut out the middleman and turn into a little bit of a class clown?
I was not so much that because I remember once the geography teacher was taken ill and it was covered by the head teacher, and I thought, yeah, no, I'll start doing my own material here, and then getting absolutely savaged by the head teacher. She went, "That's just the kind of fatuous remark I've come to expect from you."
Oh, your
But
first review.
yeah, yeah, brutal. Uh, yeah, do you know, there's all sorts of nice things people have said over the years, but for some reason, the exact, which I can't remember at all,
Oh
but
no.
the exact phrasing, that's exactly the kind of fatuous remark I've come to expect from you, Clover, really stuck with me. Um,
That'll
so-
be tattooed on your brain until you die. It's all to do with survival. There's a reason for that. Like our ancestors millions of years ago, if they heard a twig snap behind them, the ones that thought, oh, that wood sounds quite dry for this time of year. Mind you, we haven't had much rain. They were more likely to be eaten by whatever was behind them. The ones that heard the same twig snap and immediately scarper up a tree were more likely to survive, which is why today negative things stick in your head more.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's
So,
amazing what doing comedy does to your sense of like you can get a review or someone goes like, "Oh, great joke," or someone says, "Yeah, that was a great joke." You're like, "Oh, so you hated the performance." Like, you, the person saying it, you can your brain does all of this maths really quickly to turn it into something.
oh, oh, totally. I think everyone does it. Like if you say to someone, have you ever read a WhatsApp message and taken a negative connotation of the meaning? I would bet 100% of WhatsApp users would say, oh God, all the time. But if you spun it around and say, did you ever get an ambiguous message and choose to give a positive interpretation of it? I would bet people would be like, maybe, trying to think. We're just wired up to want to be negative because there was a time when it kept us alive.
Yeah, yeah. We're not wired to be happy. We're wired to be alert. Uh,
Exactly. We're wired to survive. And unless you realize that, you spend your whole life just getting pissed off with things, which I don't think you need. Ben, tell me, when you're preparing a new bit, like where do ideas normally come from for you? Because you've got quite a kind of surreal type thing. How you make links with very, very strange things is brilliant. But how do you do it?
um, I don't know. If I knew, I would try and systematize it. Like there are which would probably take the magic out of it. But there are things you can do to sort of to prompt yourself. You can give yourself
Like
little
what?
challenges. You can get a piece of paper and you can write the thing down in a bit of whatever it is, whatever like level of idea, and then put everything you can possibly think of out. Some people have got like visual brains that it really helps to go like, oh, that thing that's come off kind of connects over there to that other thing that's come, and then you realize that actually the bit now isn't about when you wrote jam in the middle of the page, it's actually about um, remembering that time you went to your auntie's and like the thing that happened with the donut.
Yeah,
You're like,
right.
yeah, that's much more interesting. So I always think of it in terms of like when you really, because sometimes it just arrives fully formed, but sometimes when you're really having to like work on it a bit, it's like applying different lenses or filters, right? So
Nice.
you go like, all right, what's my emotional response to this? Because that can often like unlock stuff, and you go like, oh God, yeah, this is another thing about my fear of intimacy or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that could be a useful way to figure. It can unlock stuff, but makes it more relatable. Often, I mean, sometimes people see that even when it's not there. People go, "Oh God, yeah, I really related to that." But it's like that was just made up. But sometimes that can help. Another one is just asking sort of like the journalist questions, like the who, the what, the why, the where, the when, the how. Because you'd be surprised. I did journalism training. And one of the things I was taught is that you'd be surprised how often people miss out crucial bits of the story, which really helps with like the pullback and revealness. Because what you're doing is you're often kind of painting a picture for people, and sometimes someone will be telling you a story about like how a dog attacked their uncle or something, and then you have to kind of go back, you have to wind back, and you're like, so sorry, but the dog attacked your uncle as he was coming out of hospital. It's like, yeah, 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 yeah. And kind of, and what was he in hospital for? It's like he just had a prosthetic leg fitted. Actually, it's like no way. And it bit him on the prosthetic leg. Yeah, actually took off the. So the story's gone from dog attacks man to dog rips off man's prosthetic leg as he leaves hospital. It's like you can see how that's a much better story,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
people often don't realize what they're leaving out. So being a bit rigorous with yourself you know, about if I was directing this as a scene in a film,
Yeah.
what would I include and when and what,
Absolutely right. It's I think a lot of people don't realize the amount of work that goes in to getting something that's good. And part of it, as you said, is constant iterations and edits of that thing. So it's like you're going over it, you're sort of drafting it in your head, and you go, oh, hang on. the fact that he got bit on the prosthetic leg is important. So what I'll do is I'll actually set that up at the start of the story, and the doctor's just finished telling him how to look after his prosthetic leg, and he gets out of the hospital and a fucking dog bites it. That is better than saying, "Oh, he got bitten on the leg. Oh, but by the way, it was a prosthetic." It's about ordering and so on and so forth, isn't it? That I think a lot of people who aren't very good at it don't realize that they're not putting the work in order to get a finished product.
Yeah, and I think people sort of recognize this from their own lives, even like non-comedians. Like sometimes, like your partner or something funny will happen, and you'll hear them tell the story to their mum, and then you hear them tell the story to like their mate, and then tell the story to someone on the school run, and you'll notice that it gets a bit tighter. It's
Yes,
the
yes,
natural, you realize
yes.
it kind of like, oh, and here's the bit, and yeah, I'm sure this is more the other way around. I'm sure probably the added bit with me and her is like eye rolls as people go, like, are you really hamming this up now? Kind of
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, that is exactly right. Yeah, people do it subconsciously, but I think professional communicators do it in a much more conscious, process led way in order to in order to execute that.
yeah, yeah. And like a punchline's usually about surprise.
Yeah.
But sometimes like there's a quite joyous thing where even when you can sort of see where it's going, some like I'm thinking like John Mulaney, and
Hmm.
if you don't know him, like amazing American comedian, like beautifully structured stories. But sometimes part of the pleasure is sort of like you can tell where this is going, and he's got this sort of kind of little smile that sort of takes you along as like this is, and then there are surprises afterwards. But there's
Yeah.
it does go where you're thinking, and you like your mechanical brain is going like, oh, so that is where it ended up, and then the three surprise things hit much harder afterwards because you've finished the equation, and then there's some more, then there's
No,
the surprising things.
exactly. That's really interesting you say that because another sometimes kind of counterfactual to what we've been talking about tip is to be on stage and to talk about painting with fresh paint, if you see what I mean. Like a classic trope from years and years ago, people would say, a funny thing happened to me on the way to the gig. What do you think is the relationship between prepping stuff before you start, but then also making it look kind of off the top of your head and natural?
Um, I think, well, ideally, you're just you're just talking and being fun, you know. But and some people can just get up and sometimes if your adrenaline's up or you had a good night's sleep or something, you can
Yep.
come on and just sort of riff, and that's lovely. But mostly you want to have a fairly clear idea of what you're going to talk about. And like the clearer idea you've got of what you want to talk about, actually, the freer you are to digress if you want, or to sort of embellish or go off on a tangent or respond to something in the
Yeah.
room. Um, yeah, and like the more command you have of what you're going to talk about in advance, the more fluent you'll be at that. Like I remember early on writing stuff on my hand, and my mate said, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I just so as I can remember all the stuff." And he went, "It's a bad habit to get into, isn't it?" I was like, "Oh yeah," because I've seen
Mm.
subsequently with like ink covered, sweaty hands, going like, "Well, this has made my panic much worse." And
Yeah.
also it sort of reinforces the idea that like if I don't remember all of the things, then I am sunk and lost beneath the waves. And it's like,
Yeah.
you're not actually. You'll be fine. Even if you forgot it all, you'd still be fine. Um, uh, and yeah, but putting all the pressure on your palm. I'm sure there are things where you do need to put all the pressure on your palm. I've now made it sound kind of dirty, and that's not what I meant. But yeah.
I
Um,
understand what you mean. Do you think earlier in your career, would that be an example of what you might term over preparing for a show?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's a common mistake you make when you're starting out is you go like, they'll know. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be found out I'm a fraud, right? But thankfully, I've got my jokes. And that's sort of, I always think of it as being like you're on a sledge going through Russia, through the frozen waste, and there's wolves running after you. And you kind of like, and each joke is like some meat, but don't worry, you've got your bag of meat, and you throw, and each piece of meat that you throw out, the wolves start, and then they're like off and after you again. It's like,
All
right,
right.
here's more meat. But if they don't like some of the meat, then they get a bit nearer the sledge. And if I don't like a bit nearer the sledge, then it's like fuck, and it's like, now I'm being eaten. But
And
like
then you're the meat. Yeah, yeah,
then
yeah.
you're the meat. They've
Yeah, right.
found you out because you're a fraud, right? But
Right.
like, so you get very obsessed with like remembering exactly your material. And I'm not going to acknowledge that like someone is like praising Jesus in the back of the room really loudly, which is distracting the rest of the audience, because I must just focus on saying the jokes. As long as I say the jokes, the wolves are far away. It's like, well, in fact, you should. People are tense because you've not acknowledged what's gone on in the room. So as soon as you realize, no, be present and remember to acknowledge what's happening, then it's more like actually you've got off the sledge and then you've patted the wolves on the head
All right.
and now they're your pals, you know. Um,
Yeah. Oh man, what a lovely image. What is it that was like a whole little short film or a scene from some. Oh yeah, man.
well, I did go to school in Russia. My geography teacher, he took us on a school trip to Russia, and and yeah, we were chased by
And
wolves.
you got chased
And
by wolves.
I threw him off the edge, and then the head teacher had to take the course. And then she went like, it's just a kind of fact. Anyways,
So now you are how many years roughly you've been going? I think me and you might have started at a similar time.
like 2 years ago. It's like sometimes you can see someone you've never heard of who's amazing. You'd be like, wow, how long you been going? They'd be like, oh, 6 months. You'd be like,
Oh,
"Mm,
don't.
wow, they're good. And then you speak to a mate and go, like, I was King so so. I've been going 6 months. And amazing. It's like, yeah, he was like a sketch and improv guy for 22 years. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, definitely. There are a few. Some of the people that qualify for the new act competitions as well, look at them and you're a bit like, new and do it. I was gigging with you back in 2009, you tosser.
I've changed my hand. Anyway, got haunted network.
Roughly, give or take, what, 10, 15? It must be about 15 because
Closer to 15, I think.
I
Uh,
can remember. In fact, that reminds me, I'm going to have to get a different title um, image done for this episode because the graphics guy has just sent one back and you look about 8 in your picture and it'll be too confusing. People will think you've been
what's happened?
marooned, stuck on a desert island or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was going to call my Edinburgh show Shipwrecked Twink.
Yeah, right.
That was when I had a bigger, messier beard. Um,
And you could get some like raggedy clothes
oh
and like
yeah.
walk on and be like, "Hello, everybody."
First thing, have you got any water? I live water.
Yeah. So what I was getting at was you've now obviously hundreds, probably thousands of gigs in that time. What now is your preparation for a show that you want to do well at? If you're not writing stuff on your hand anymore, what is it that you do in order to prepare for the magic?
Well, it's still changing because you can get into bad habits and then you need to have like a word with yourself and go like, oh, hang on. So it is I still find it really useful just to see what other people do and go like, oh, I'm not doing that. Or actually that seems helpful. So like
Yeah.
I
It's
used to
a
do
go on,
so go on. No,
go
I
on.
used to do vocal warm-ups as well. I used to do like actor style vocal warm-ups to be like I'd go through all of the because I think I've got a tendency to mumble sometimes, which is not helpful. But I used to kind of so to counteract that, I'd do like I go like baby bye bye boo boo bye 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 baby bye bye boo day dee da do 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 da dee day day dee da. I go the whole way through the alphabet and back whilst pacing, which must have been so annoying for everyone else. Because I think probably when you see new people and they are pacing about, it does, I don't know, it just shows that you're a bit nervous. So do it outside if you have to do that. But anyway, I've done that for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
now I kind of I had to have a word with myself a couple of years ago to be like, hey, you know, um, make try and get better habits, right? Because I think it's easy to get nonchalant about stuff and to mistake nonchalance for confidence,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, and so go like, no, actually, look, make sure if you're comparing, even if you're comparing, but if you're not comparing, while the compass on, go into the back of the room, have a look about the room, see, and when I mean literally physically the room, like is there stuff that you might want to mention? Is there things about the context that the audience might have noticed that they might be expecting you to acknowledge? Are there things that they would have taken in subconsciously that would be fun to mention? But also the room as in the people in the room, right? But I think, so I recorded a special at Edinburgh a couple of years ago, right? And I can't put it out because um, the amount of people we got in, we filled one half of the room. It was like the audience on this side and this side. There's a walkway down the middle, and we like half filled the other side of the room. But it turns out they only had two cameras, so we said, "Oh, so we just filmed it on the side that was fullest." So
Good.
me camera on the side that's fullest, and you go, "Fine." But don't worry, because rather than the reaction shots always just being the same people, what we'll do is we'll cut in someone else's show in the same venue, just people laughing, right? Using
Right.
one side of the room. And I was like, is that fair? Is that because they're not laughing at me at that point? That's someone else's. But I think it'd be fine. But the reason I couldn't do it was, was because in the other side, there was a guy wearing a full 18th century British naval uniform on the third row. And people might reasonably expect me to address that if it had, if it
Yes.
actually happened in the room. And I know if I was watching that special, it would drive me nuts to be like, why hasn't he? This is
Yeah.
part of the show. Why hasn't he? So, like,
I got it.
having a look about the room, the physical room, and the people in it is very important. But I think the most important thing recently, I can't remember who said to do this, but I've been doing it ever since, and a really measurable difference is actually to check in with yourself to go, how you feeling? Because sometimes you had to put the kids to bed, you've had to run to catch the train was delayed, they had to run to the vet. This has happened before, and you're like a sweaty swine at this point, and
Yeah.
and you've been worried about whether you're going to get to the gig in time, and you've had to run more or less, or something. You had to text a promoter going, I'm sorry, I'm very reliable promoters. This happens very rarely, but sometimes there are external stresses you have no control.
Yeah.
um, so it's worth having a little check in with yourself to go, how are we feeling? And I found that to be very helpful to be like, do you know what? Actually, that was a bit stressful. And I, and once you realize that, you'd be like, so take a moment to relax now because we're here. Another time you're like, I'm in a great mood. We're gonna have a lot of fun. You notice that
Yeah.
your body's a bit different, you know, and just the act of acknowledging it, I find kind of helpful.
That's brilliant.
Because ideally you want to be sort of playful and I don't know, maybe if you're a comedian and your act is like you're very dour, then maybe you've had a brilliant day and you need to like get into character by going, all right, fucking business time.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. You're so true. Like self-awareness, working out the mood you're in before you start, and if there are any changes that can be made. Because it's possible sometimes, to change your own mood. Once you understand you're in a mood, one of the best gigs I had recently in the last year or so, I was hosting a show and we were doing a thing where we were getting an inexperienced open mic comic and giving them a shot on a bill of pro comics. So they could make some contact, and it actually wasn't as risky as you thought because they were doing an open mic set that they'd done about 800 times. So they were actually getting more laughs than some of the acts that might have been in a bad mood or were trying different things. But there was one bloke who came along who I could tell was nervous. And I explained to him a similar thing that I was talking to you earlier about how we're wired up to be negative. And I said, look, the reason why you're nervous now is because of tribalism. Okay. 70,000 years ago, we lived in tribes. And if you were ostracized from that tribe, then you were basically dead. People worry about public speaking because they fear a rejection from their peers. And what that means is you can go into your shell. But the good news is we don't need that level of tribalism in 2026. If this lot don't laugh tonight, I guarantee you, you will still have friends, family, food in your fridge. So just relax. If you enjoy it, other people will enjoy it. And because I'd given that advice, but I'd verbalized it, it got to the front of my conscience. And I had one of the best gigs that I'd had for ages because all of this stuff had gone from the back of my head to right up in front of me. And I thought to myself after, God, I was really good there. I wonder if that's because I told that thing to Al before we started. So it is possible to work out where you are and then do something about it, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you don't just have to live in it. You can take a step back and go, oh yeah, this is where we are. And it's okay to be like, yeah, I'm nervous. This is loads of people. It's like I say, I've been going a million years now, but kind of there are still gigs where you go like, see, people often ask me like, oh, do you still get nervous? And I go, honestly, no. But there's still some gigs that are, more higher pressure than others. But one
Hmm.
of the things I found is sometimes you go like your brain forgets to be nervous because you don't suffer, but then you kind of, I don't know, maybe you're leaning against your palm or something, you can feel your pulse is like, oh, your body's adrenaline is still going, my pulse is still higher.
Mm.
But the body knows. But
Yeah,
back, the body is subservient to the mind. Uh,
absolutely. That's the whole NLP thing, isn't it? Like getting it on your terms. Yeah, that's interesting. I definitely don't get anywhere near. You're so right about pacing around. I can remember doing the Edinburgh Fringe and I'd gotten into, I think it was a semi-final of the BBC New Act competition. And it was a big room. I think they might have been filming it. Some Joe Blow off the telly was hosting it. Can't remember who. And before that gig, I must have looked like someone from a lunatic asylum. I was just pacing around the room talking to myself. And I obviously don't do that anymore, but I still get a little kind of, whoo, here we go. Yeah, here come the. It's obviously much, if you were plotting it on a graph, it would be huge when you start, but I still get a little kind of wobble of the needle, if you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I after a month at Edinburgh, there's this like September's often quite weird because
Oh, God.
you've trained your body to be like, we're on like at a certain time of day.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
always at night. Sometimes you do a show at 2 p.m. or something.
Yes.
And your body's like, right, we're going. We're like, no, it's light.
No. We're just queuing up for a bus, for God's sake. Calm down, everybody. Oh, God Almighty. You come back from Edinburgh just kind of bulletproof. I recently did one of these with Russell Hicks, and he was just talking about continually dying when he maybe not continually, but his style of comedy, like going on without any jokes. I'm just going to riff in the room now. And he said he'd almost trained that bit of his brain to not care about it. The bit that worries about dying, he's just filed down to zero. And he just go and the fact that he doesn't care makes the chances of it working so much higher. But it's definitely true, isn't it? People don't realize about neural plasticity. They might do something once and think, "Oh, I didn't like that. I'll never do it again." And it's like, yeah, but you can go back. You can feed back to your primal brain and be like, right, we need a meeting. I enjoy doing these things, and you've got to get on board, dude, because I need you with me. And it's possible. And your brain, after a while, kind of goes, "Oh, yeah, okay, fair enough. Sorry, I didn't realize you think like that. Let's go back to dying on gigs."
Yeah, there's a I don't know, it's difficult, isn't it? Because there's the difference between a winning confidence, which leads to a relaxed mastery on stage, but also you don't want to let that slip over into just big slapdash. Kind of like, you've got
Definitely
anything you
not.
want to say? If you've got any material you want to do, have that worked out. Give a good showing of yourself. Like sometimes I think as time goes by, I think in our culture, people like the idea of being a veteran, of being like an
Mm.
old hand, kind of like, oh yeah, nothing phases me. Oh, it's all hardwired and automatic now. It's like that could end up with you coasting, you know.
Yeah, right.
Like so, of course, you could be drawing on massive well springs. You remember when we started, and like you'd see some people, and they just had something. Turns out
Yeah,
that was experience, right?
completely.
And you could see it, you could really see it very clearly. Sometimes new people would be great, but you could tell they weren't well experienced because they just I remember someone saying, which I can tell who's going to be good pretty much by how they walk up to the mic.
Yes,
Because
yes. Spot
it's like
on.
something
Spot
that
on.
your body's done 9,000 times or something. But yeah, no, you've got to also challenge yourself to be like, hey, we're not we're not sleepwalking through this. We're gonna. But then, if you're in the room properly, then you're not. I guess it's a different thing. It's sort of material and making sure that you're turning over new material and thinking about new jokes, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I always feel a bit sad for some old kind of, club comics that are just rolling out the same 20 minutes since like 2016 or something like that. And it's like, I don't know, for me personally, how you kind of get out of bed and do that every day. You know what I mean?
It's bad enough when you kind of go like, well, this hardy perennial joke has been a mainstay of the Kew Gardens of my material for some time. But but not too long, because I think people can sort of tell after a little while. But no, sometimes you see people and you go like, I don't know that you should be doing London Olympics material now. That was
Yeah, 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 yeah.
14 years ago.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah,
remember seeing
yeah.
something. I was on a bill once with a guy who had some material about something that had happened before then. I think it was riots. And to be fair, and I remember saying I was on a bill with him, and he had this great material about the 2011, right? It's an absolutely banging bit, right? But I remember seeing him do it before, and it's like, it's quite a while ago, mate.
Yeah,
Maybe,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know? But then, in between seeing I was on the bill with him and the actual gig, there were some more riots. I was like, you jammy butt.
Yeah,
All this
yeah,
material
yeah,
has just
yeah.
risen from the grave.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly. There's some old I can't remember who told me. Some comic at a green room told me a story about someone who is desperately trying to keep a piece of material on life support. I think it was the film Basic Instinct. And they had started off
The
like,
1982 classic,
yeah, yeah,
basically.
yeah, 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 yeah. and it went through from like, so I went to the cinema and saw this film, or I went to Blockbuster Video and hired out this film. I was on an aeroplane and I saw this film, all the way up to. So I was watching Netflix the other day, and basically, and it's like, yeah, you are going to break that shoehorn if you get in there, if you try much harder to try and keep this relevant.
I thought you was going to say, like, oh yeah, the Prince Charles Cinema the other day. But, I consider like classic films from.
Yeah. That's it. That's it, man. The setup has to get more and more kind of random in order for you to be watching a film from
Yeah,
1992.
I
Big.
ended up seeing once ages ago loads of people doing like corporate after dinner speaking, and it was like it was I don't know exactly who, but it was people that were big involved in like the GB cycling thing. Back
All
when we
right.
had a load of Olympic success, and I think it was some people who were on like the coaching team or something. And I saw them loads of times, and they were like, "Oh, it's all about incremental gains, about kind of going after every race or trial, we'd be like, how can we just like shave another .05 seconds off this?" And we're like, oh yeah, it's interesting. And I guess that is applicable to my own working life. Interesting. And then it turns out it's like, oh no, drugs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All
The
that and drugs.
Yeah, we look at the mattresses they sleep on in order to get 0.1% of a difference, but they just smash a load of steroids. They help quite a bit too, as it turns out.
We use a special razor to make sure there's no wind resistance on anyone's faces in any way. And we connect people to a blood bank that gives foal's blood directly into your veins. So you've got that horse strength, you know?
No, but it's the whole process. Part of it's the razors and then a few pints of horse blood. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Ben, tell me, can you ever remember a gig where you've had to completely abandon the plan that you had walking onto the stage?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's loads of these.
Go on.
Um, yeah. I remember once I was in Nottingham and I'd never played in Nottingham before, and I think I was trying to get like, why was I there? I can't remember, but anyway, it was like a new scene, new people, hadn't met anyone. So I thought, all right, let's give these people the hits, like
Yeah, yeah.
no fucking about, new city, gonna
Well,
be a
perfect. Well, that, I
tight.
mean, I mean that ties into what we were just saying. You either need to change the act or the audience, don't you?
But no, it's not just about focus as I you don't sometimes, when you're going, well, you've got loads of material, you kind of you don't make a big plan beforehand. But this one's like, no. We'll end on that. Should try and work backwards from we'll close the set on this. And yeah, and actually that callback was nice. So I'll do that before. Anyway, all got completely disrupted by this guy came in late with his girlfriend uh, and sat right at the front. It's like, well, this feels like a level of something different happening that this feels disruptive enough that I have to acknowledge.
Yeah, right.
So it's just like playfully, why are you late? And the guy, rather unchivalrously, um, but very directly, said that he and his partner were late because uh, they had been having sex on the towpath, the canal path. I think Nottingham's got loads of canals.
All right.
Um,
All
um,
right.
on the way there,
Oh, on the way.
and
Oh
on the
my
way
God.
they were late to the gig because they'd stopped to make love on the towpath. That's what you call next to the canal. Yeah, yeah.
Wowza.
Yeah, and he didn't express it as chivalrously as I did. He used much earthier language,
Thank you for not quoting him on a podcast as salubrious as this. Please continue.
Well, so I don't want to make you blush. I'm a man of the world, but you know,
Mm.
uh, but we're gonna all right. So this has now gone from mild disruption to the show, you guys walking late, sit on the front, so to my set rather, to quite significant. Uh,
Now you've got no choice but to go further down this towpath, so to
yeah,
speak.
yes, and I was a little bit annoyed, both not just at the disruption to my plan, but at the sort of the laddiness with which he was like, oh yeah.
It's a it's a bit crude. Was his other half on board with this revelation being shared with a room of strangers?
If she what her view was not sought on this, not sought on this at all. So I saw him as sort of like which I did think was also like ungentlemanly.
Yes.
Um, so I ended up being sort of kind of cross at him. But so I had to junk the whole set, and I instead went like I just made then the whole set about him being it was a sort of satire of him being this sort of priapic kind of sex crazed figure who the closer he was to water, the more insatiably like aroused he became.
Right. Yeah, right.
Like Riverside bumming man, if he runs a tap, then he's going to get super kind of like
Yeah.
framing.
Yeah, right.
And it ended up getting very weird and so, and I just wouldn't stop ranting about all the different problems this would cause in his life and how, one day he might realize that he's driven everyone away with his insatiable like H2O based like lust, and then he'll shed a single tear. But then that's water as well. So that's even more
Right.
the
Then he's back.
Riverside
Then he's
bumming
back
man.
to the start. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it
yeah.
became this. I can't remember it all, and you very much had to be there. But uh, but I think people could tell that I was making fun of this guy, and that I left no pause while I did it. Uh,
Yeah.
and did it for about 6 minutes, sort of unrelentingly, sort of running out of things to say, kind of having created this character who'd already sort of bigged himself up, but I'd sort of inflated him, hopefully enough that he popped.
Yeah.
And at the end, it's just like, you're getting quite good big laughs because people realize they're seeing something unique and that was unplanned.
Yes.
And then I'm out of energy after a little bit and draw a breath, and there's like the laughter's dying down. And I go, shall I go back to? I do have jokes.
Yeah, right.
Um, and so
Yeah.
someone just shouted from the back, like, more Riverside bumming man. I was like, okay, we're back. It's what he would have wanted. Yeah, I think there's a review of that somewhere online. There was a reviewer in
Oh,
who
there was.
who who was said a magnificent performance. I was pleased with myself after. I was more pleased with myself after that than Riverside Bumming Man was of his Riverside Bumming kind of.
Yeah, good. Oh, mate, sounds like you did save that. You do quite often get audiences who think that in some ways they're helping the act by shouting stuff out. When I host shows, I always make a point of saying to audiences, what's funnier is what the act was gonna do if you kept quiet. If you want to heckle anybody, heckle me because I don't care and no one ever does. And it's just explaining to people. I mean, you obviously did it brilliantly in that example by the sound of it, but quite often heckles actually just interrupt the flow of the act that's on stage, don't they?
For sure, for sure. But like, I think it's always important to like distinguish the intent, right? Because some people think that anything said from the crowd is a heckle. And I've seen like some acts go completely bananasly overboard having misjudged the tone of the interaction completely. Like someone's just going like,
Yes.
it was a jolly energy rather than a disruptive or like,
Yes, sometimes they just want to say, we agree. If you're doing an observational bit about, do you notice how your partner goes dot, 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 dot? Sometimes it's people just go, he does that, he does that. And all they want to do with the intent is to say, I love that. That's
yeah,
good. That's so. But if you've just got, if you're just locked and loaded, any of you going to heckle? Yeah,
yeah,
he
yeah.
does that. And
It's almost something I kind of relish seeing now from more inexperienced people, especially
yeah.
when they've asked the question. It's like it goes like, "Who likes cereal?" And someone goes, "I like Weetabix," and it's like, "Right."
Shut up.
And he's got like five prepared things, and it's like, "What? You asked the question, you
If
know."
you're going to
But
ask the question, at least say, what cereal do you like? Have you ever tried that? Do you ever put anything other than milk on it? Once you ask the question, you've got to kind of take it to some
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
resolution or just don't ask the question.
Yeah. I know, but yeah, Converse got to make clear that kind of like because it is still annoying and disruptive, but disruptive when people go like, yeah, I also have a lawnmower. Like, yeah, okay, but don't like shut up.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely,
there's a really good
definitely.
article on Chortle somewhere about like the seven different kinds of interrupter.
Oh,
Like,
go on.
I can't remember them off, but like, but there are like they broke whoever it was broke it down really nicely about like there are the hostile ones and there's different kinds of hostile ones, sort of like I mean,
Yeah,
and all of this is like pretty vanishingly rare, kind of like
very
I
much
could
so.
probably count on the fingers of maybe two hands the amount of like unbidden hostile heckles.
Yeah.
But like, and like when I was just starting out, I remember playing this. I had this mistake of thinking all of Sussex was like Brighton. It is not. I was booked for this gig in this like hotel.
How about trans rights? Yeah, yeah.
The gig in a hotel in Haywards Heath. And I was on just after a Tina Turner impersonator, who was lovely and great. Um,
Okay.
and uh, and there's like pillars everywhere, weird lighting, and and to use the technical term, I was eating shit at this.
Lovely.
I
Lovely.
was doing poorly, and I see this one guy on one of these circular tables just leaning against one of the pillars, um, like sighing. And this is an example of when you shouldn't acknowledge something's going on in the room
Yep.
because no one else had seen him. But when like stupidly, I said to him, kind of like, "Oh, you're right, mate. You a bit tired?" Because he's leaning against the pillar, and he just like sighed and went like, "You're not very good." No one else had seen him leaning against the pillar. It was a completely
Yeah.
avoidable. It didn't need acknowledging in any way. Home stretch of the gig. Just finish off with your dignity intact. But then the gig comes alive a little bit more, and he's like, because everyone's like, I'm like, oh, it's like, well, that is, I won't lie, that does hurt, especially from your own dad. Huge laugh. I feel really dirty inside because, like, and that's my dad is the worst kind of hack, pull back and reveal. But I did feel like, well, I was in a you never go out to a pub thinking that you're going to end the night hitting someone with a bar stool. But it is technically something that could happen through no fault of your own or through a series of events that are unlikely but might just be self-defense. Um, well, I don't know what that story illustrates really.
No, it illustrated about three or four different things that I agree with. What you're doing and what the experience gives you, I think, are judgment calls. If
Yeah,
there's something that's not optimum in a room, there are some things that you have no choice but to reference and say, What's going on here? If someone takes their phone out and starts texting on it, that is so disruptive and so rude. You are completely within your rights to rip that person a new arsehole. And the other problem, of course, is that someone else might think, oh, I'm waiting for a text message. Maybe I'll check my phone. And then bedlam ensues. You need to say, pack that up. If someone at the back of the room is leaning on a pillar, as you said yourself there, no one else in the room actually knows that that's happening. You then get to a stage where you can be like, actually, that's not ideal, but what I'm going to do is make a judgment call to ignore that person that is not disrupting a single other person in the room. And I'm just going to keep doing the jokes. And I think that's the sort of thing that only really comes from experience, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess if there was a rule, it's like, can everyone else see this happening? Like,
Mm,
a fly lands on your bald head, everyone can see it. You must acknowledge it.
yes.
I've had a gig where there was someone who just shouted, "Praise the Lord" at the back. Who was having a sort of religious epiphany. That was the same gig where a guy did a fart so audible that you can see it in the audience. And this is not a performer. You could see it on the sound engineer sent me like the sound recording file. You can see the waves, and you can
Yeah.
actually see the fart. Like it was one. But no, like you say, you're like
Holy
they more
smoke.
experience. If I was in
That's
that situation now with the guy leaning against the pillar and it was going fine but not great, of course I'd ignore it, finish my set, I'd walk off stage, I'd kick his chair away as I left the room, and that would be it.
ab-
Your judgment much better.
absolutely. Absolutely right. What do you think great audiences do that average audiences don't, Ben?
When they're like when they really just this sounds so trite, but like just when they listen and are up for it. Like,
Yes.
I remember having a joke. Um, I had a joke that I used to open with. I can't remember it exactly, but I remember it was one of those ones that took about 45 seconds to get to the punchline, but it was worth it usually.
Yeah.
Uh, and and I remember having this one audience in Forest Hill, and they laughed 2 sentences beforehand than most audiences laughed because they were just really acute. They were just really
Yeah. They
attuned.
could see what was
Um,
coming.
yeah. Oh, sorry, so just one thing on that last thing about being in the room and knowing when to do, when not to do.
Yeah.
I was talking to loads of comics about this, and it's always sometimes you come on or you speak to another actor off they come off and they go like, did you see that lady who was like talking over the side? It's like, oh, I didn't actually notice. But you've always got to make this judgment like, do I acknowledge this, disrupt the flow of the show, or not, right? And you know how like apparently your whole life's supposed to flash before your eyes before you die. One of the reasons I hope there is a heaven, right, is I really hope that when I'm being sent in, or at the end of life anyway, I would just love for God to show me my percentage success rate. To go like, your judgment was 95% right. Kind of like, I've seen all
Oh.
the alternatives, and actually, yeah, you're kind of like those, but if it just showed you kind of like, you went in too hard there, you should have dealt with that. That would
Oh
be,
yeah. Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but yeah, no, like a good audience, like just
95% and the pass rate to get into heaven is 70. So here's your locker key. Have a lovely time.
I'd like to think in heaven I wouldn't need a locker. You know,
Yeah, maybe.
someone's
Maybe.
gonna nick my gym kit. Where's my fucking watch? Give me a
I
watch
thought you
for.
said
It's
this was
heaven.
heaven.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's forever. Yeah. Still like to go to the gym. Um, yeah, no, yeah, good audiences. Yeah, like sometimes they can be like mischievous and really fun.
Yeah.
I was gigging with Nish Kumar once,
Hmm.
and it was like a Christmas gig, and it wasn't booked as like a corporate, but it ended up being more or less a corporate because
Yeah.
95% of the people there were from like, I think it was like Lidl's Christmas party, a big branch of Lidl, were like comprising 95%.
But it was a massive company, but they were too tight to actually have their own Christmas party to book a
Very
comic
budget
for.
supermarket. Yeah, Sainsbury's would have paid for us to go to them, but no,
That's
like
it.
pack out the
Waitrose would have been
basement.
in the Wyndham Theatre with little goodie bags on all the seats. But
Perfect.
Lidl just pick a normal night for punters and go,
Yeah,
sod it. Let's just buy 60 tickets for that.
yeah,
That'll do us.
we'll pack it out. I think the Waitrose Christmas party, like we've got the reanimated hologram of Oscar Wilde. We'll dispense some epigrams, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, but they were such a good laugh, the little folk. And it might have been Aldi, I don't remember. It's definitely one of those two. Um, and like Nish made some joke about Aldi or Little, and as one, they stood up to walk out.
Oh, brilliant.
And I was like, "Did you plan this?" I was like, "No, no, no." I spoke to them afterwards, and it was just like, as a group, they were really up for it, and they thought this will be funny, and
Oh,
there's a really nice
fantastic.
atmosphere in the room. But yeah, he said that really shit me up in the moment. It's like, oh my God, mass walkout from, but yeah,
That would have been great. Just to put a little bit of meat on the bones of what Ben's talking about to listeners there. Corporate gigs are classically difficult for the reason that, unlike a normal gig where everyone has seen marketing, been told about it, and chosen to attend, Christmas parties are hard because there can be large groups of people, many of whom have not chosen to be at the gig. So they are not invested in the gig. They want to talk amongst themselves or network or try and pull a fit girl from the marketing department. But it's your job as a comic to try and get them listening to a show. There would be alarm bells. We're getting into reading a room here, aren't we? If you would turn up to a gig and you realize that 80% of the tickets, instead of what I said, actually officially booking a corporate, 80% of the tickets to a just gig for the general public have been bought by one company. That would be one of the things before you started, or when you got it, as you're reading a room, that would set off an alarm bell in your head. Ben, tell me, what would be some of the other things when it comes to reading a room? What's on your checklist of what's either good or bad?
well, the classics are like stag and hen do's. That's the ones that, like, I think some venues ban those because
Yeah.
classically they've been drinking for like 6 hours and before they've got there, but there's a it's bad enough when you're on them, but there's often a weird dynamic to them.
Yeah.
If you're a stag or hen who's like, oh, can you make fun of my friend? It's like, that's too much making fun of my friend, actually. Or, like, my
Yeah.
aunt is here, my bride to be's brother and dad are here, but also like the lads from work are here and university and like so anyway, there's often a weird dynamic to those. Other things you'd be
Yeah.
aware of, and like I say, some venues just ban them completely. I remember
Good. Yeah.
Elliot Steele saying at one point he was just about to go on stage in the Glee in Nottingham. So like seems all right, and at that point 40 guys come in wearing sombreros, and like
Wonderful.
and a
Wonderful.
sombrero, it's not it recontextualizes what's going on around it, really. Kind of like I challenge you to think of any scenario where someone wearing a sombrero doesn't change the mood substantially.
I
Uh,
agree. And they could have
Brent's
been,
evening in a sombrero, kind of
yes.
bank manager in a sombrero. There's nothing it doesn't change.
And you've got the whole problem of the people sat behind them. The seats that are free are normally down the front. The least they could have done is all wore fezzes, but a sombrero. Yet First thing, do you lads mind taking the sombrero? I could picture Elliot Steele. Elliot Steele, for listeners that don't know them, is a kind of no nonsense type of chap. He'd have been like, the fuck are you lot wearing them for?
I think it does like problem groups are always the groups that end up making it about them.
Oh God.
Um,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
even if they're really nice, sometimes that can kind of happen almost by accident. Like so, for example, the little people, absolutely lovely, but the sheer preponderance of little people in the room can sometimes just make the rest of the audience go like, "Oh, is this all about them?" Then
Yeah.
I actually I had a weird gig in Edinburgh once where uh, the whole audience was like, I'm not sure they were really allowed to be there. They looked about 17. It was about like 20 17-year-olds or something in this little room. Kind of like, I think in Edinburgh they're called like a young team, i.e., like a street gang. It was just them, this Edinburgh street gang, and my in-laws. Some lovely 70,
Perfect.
70 something pensioners.
Perfect combination.
But what a lovely gig. And this is one of those we go like, well, look, I can't really do the intricate and beautifully wrought show that I prepared, much like, an antiques restorer would restore a beautiful chaise longue. I can't present this sports car of precision engineering jokes and all of that. Instead, I'm just gonna have to make it all about this street game, right? And
Yeah. And
explore
o-
that.
and obviously you can't do loads of stuff about, taking crystal meth on a park bench because your in-laws are also listening.
Well, this is the thing. I had to make this choice. And there's all sorts of fun gang dynamics to explore about who does what in the gang, who's more sort of the lookout and why he's the lookout. Of course, why is he the lookout? This guy's like 8 feet tall. He's like,
Yeah, who shanks people, who gets all the drugs. Yeah, all of that. Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
we had loads of fun with it. It was a really fun show at the end, right? And at the end, like the leader of the gang, he goes, "Now I can't do the accent." But it's like, "Yeah, we enjoyed that. Yeah, we enjoyed that." And to be honest, we only came up to disrupt the show, but no, it was genuinely good. I was like, "Oh, well, my heart grew 4 sizes that day, right?" And then my in-laws came up and kind of went, "That's the worst show you've ever done, I think." We're coming to you and we hated it. It was like, you made it all about them. I was like, "Yeah, of course I made it all about us."
But you've actually hit on some one of the things that we take people through is if you've got people in a room who haven't chosen to be there, or even worse, have chosen to be there with the sole intention of disrupting the show, a very good idea is to make it about them. If you'd have done your beautiful Wedgwood mahogany restored show to them, then my hypothesis would have been you'd have got about 3.5 minutes into an hour show before something terrible had have happened.
They would have got their wish. It was like, yeah, this feels like a show we could disrupt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But Ben, talking of Edinburgh shows, I think it was a clip of an Edinburgh show that I once saw that you did, which is always slightly confused me, and I'm wondering if now is the time for you to shine light where there have been darkness. Was it you that asked an entire Edinburgh audience at the same time to throw their shoes at you?
Yeah, yeah. I thought it'd be a bit of fun.
Talk us through the process of that from start to finish, if you'd be so kind.
Well, I've always believed that you can't judge a man until you've walked a mile in his shoes. And of course, the Proclaimers are Scottish, and Edinburgh is the capital of Scotland. And I think it was the Greek dramatist Aeschylus who has a play about sandals. It's called The Sandal, and it's about it's sort of a parable. It's apparently it's like a satire of the Athenian leadership during their second war with Sparta. And I thought I really want to knit these themes. No, I just thought it'd be fun. I thought it'd be fun to have to do that at the end. I think I was about to become a father for the first time, and we're having trouble thinking of a name. And I think the idea was, if you can hit me with a thrown shoe from the audience, you can name the kid. Um, and there wasn't a lot of thought behind it apart from I think it'd just be a fun. One of my favorite comedians, Sean Lock. He has
Brilliant.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. But at the end of almost all of his shows, there's like a weird thing as well. And I won't spoil it in case you see it, but it's a sort of an unexpected thing because I love stand-up and I could watch it for ages. But for a lot of people, it's kind of like it's quite a long time of just person does this, maybe moves around a bit. It can be really funny. I love it, but kind of like it's still nice to have something different at the end. Uh, and what I found was when I was explaining to people what was going to happen with the shoe, people were unlacing their boots kind of
Brilliant.
way before I'd finished explaining. They were suddenly like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, this is you should have done this earlier. The whole show should have been this." And the plan was that I was going to sing Whitney Houston's "I Will Always Love You" whilst avoiding these shoes. I'm pretty nimble, I'm fairly
Yeah.
svelte, kind of like I'm not an easy target.
No, you're not. Just to clarify, this was an Edinburgh run where you got people to do this at every single show for a month.
Yeah, yeah. I was doing two shows. One was in like a theatre space, and I was like, I could well imagine a thrown boot dislodging the not properly put up lighting rig
Oh, wow.
and then being crushed or left paralyzed by a like a light cannon. That actually happened to like funk legend Curtis Mayfield on stage.
Did
Uh,
it?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
What, some dodgy tech not doing the job, not
yeah,
screwing in?
yeah,
Oh, dear.
yeah. Absolutely tragedy.
So
Yeah,
you're obviously weighing up the kind of average or probably more importantly, maximum weight that a single piece of footwear, like a kind of chunky Timberland boot, if hurled by a large user who would also have large feet,
yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
would be a considerable missile flying through the auditorium.
Quite a lot of a cow. Quite a lot of
Yes.
cows coming at you like
Yes.
fast, hurled by a big meaty arm, full
Right.
of rage.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he's not allowed to ride his motorbike anymore since the accident. So he still wears the boots because he wants people to know. But I remember at one point having my hair kind of parted by one of those things, going, Jesus Christ, if that had got me full.
Oh my God. It could have been the end of the run.
But it could have, but so I didn't do that in the theatre show. I did do it in the show that was in a kind of weird tent, and people
Oh,
loved it. Kind of
perfect.
like people like old, young, male, female. They were all quite quick to, and it ended up being loads of fun because usually they did get you. I don't think I escaped unscathed, but people were coming back up for reloads. People really annoyed that they were kind of coming in from the back, kind of. Someone did a really good dunk. I think on the footage I do get hit in the nuts with one and do it did hurt more than I expected and I do fall to the floor. But he did a sort of dummy one. So I jinked one way, but then I was fooled and got. But then you have to give everyone's shoes back. And
Yeah. Ah,
it unlocked a sort of part of myself I didn't really know was there, which was a very catty shoes guy who you can make some quite strong, fun judgments about people based on their shoes, and you can sort of fire back a little bit um
yeah,
at people
right.
based on their shoe choices. So I was like, I didn't realize I had the sort of the gawk in me. Um
Okay.
so yeah,
So
that's
what? You would be like, oh my Jesus Christ, what did you do? Get dressed in a power cut? OMG. And were there some people like, that's a decent pair of shoes, that is, pal. You use what your mouth.
it's no, I don't think people sort of took it. I think they realized that they'd had their fun and now I was. And I didn't do a voice or anything, but I found myself being I've never had such strong opinions about shoes before, but yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
oh yeah.
Oh, how beautiful. How beautiful. No, that's what do you normally do after you've finished a gig? I mean, obviously, green room, thank you, I'll see you again and stuff like that. But I mean, for your performance, like, do you tape shows or anything like that?
Yeah, tape shows.
Regularly, every time, occasionally?
Yeah, I a bunch of reasons to tape shows. So when I was starting out, taped everything, listened to it back. And that helps you write material quicker, helps you learn material quicker. So you can turn over lots of stuff much quicker. I think you listen with a different part of your brain than is active when you're performing. So sometimes you see
Mm.
stuff in it much more clearly. Another good reason to record stuff is that sort of danger brain that we're talking about earlier, about kind of going, oh shit. Often I come home, say to my girlfriend, kind of, oh shit. She go, have you listened to the recording? Very wise. You go, you listen to the recording? I'm like, no, not yet. And I listen to it and be like, oh, it wasn't shit.
Yeah, right.
It was
Yeah,
good.
right.
So very important as a corrective. So yeah, helpful for writing, helpful for sanity. Tom Stays, the great comedian, said like it's
Yeah.
important not just to record yourself, but to film yourself because you can actually. He said you can lie to yourself about how you sound. You can't really lie to yourself about how you look on stage, and you can. It was through filming myself that I realized, because I'm sort of hunched like a little goblin man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, okay, so that's part of having a word with yourself to be like, oh yeah, you obviously are more nervous than you think you are. Maybe have more of a word with yourself before about, like we were talking about earlier. Um, and that's before you even, and then I stopped for ages because it's a lot of faff. And like, you can end up coasting for a little bit. And now it's like, no, make the effort, listen to them all. Even though if you're someone who likes the sound of your own voice, then you're a psychopath, right? So no one finds that easy. But also now people do it for clips. You want to look and see if there's any priceless clip you can put out as a result. Although I think we're now past peak clip. I think most of the apps now are sort of increasingly rubbish for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How do you decide whether a new joke needs more work or just needs to be taken out completely?
Um, some people have got like a system for this. I think more sort of joke people definitely I think have a system. I think maybe Gary Delaney says it gets like 4 run outs and stuff. And sometimes he'll post something going like, this one didn't make the cut. It's like, that one didn't make the cut. Jeez. Like, bloody hell. Like anyway, because he's amazing. But how do you decide whether to take something out? Kind of to be sort of annoyingly like grind set about it, you should never really stop working on it, you know, because there's often bits that will be old, and you're like, oh, that was, and someone will tell you, oh, did you ever add this bit to that? I was like, no. Oh my God, that
Yeah.
would look so well.
That
um,
that was the
yeah,
magic bit, and then it all goes bop, 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 bop,
and often you don't see it, you're too close to it, and someone else goes,
completely.
and and this is why I don't know, people can be like precious about big suggested stuff because I'm sure it can be done in a patronizing way. But mostly, do you know what? I'll happily be patronized if I get if I get a new good punchline or tag out of it. So yeah, how do you know when a bit's finished? You should always keep working at it. Knowing when to drop it. Everyone's got their own thing. I probably don't give things enough chances. Because the temptation is just to be like, well, I'm dropping a bit. The idea wasn't funny. My contention is, and I don't always live by this, is that the idea was always funny. If you think the idea was funny, you're probably right,
I've
right?
heard I've heard comics say
And
that
and
too.
it came from your instincts,
Yeah.
so it means it's worth exploring, you know.
Yes. Yes,
Um,
exactly. I've heard comics say that at the start of shows. If you've put it in the set and you've decided it's funny, then it's funny. And it's your job just to sell it to the audience as opposed to thinking, is this funny? Ben, do you have another maybe like 20 odd minutes or something? How are you
um,
time wise?
I have probably got a shoot in a minute. I've got some other things I need to.
Fuck, that's absolutely fine. I just need a piss, but we're gonna two more, then we're gonna two more, then we're gonna finish. Ben, what's a lesson that took you years to learn as a comedian?
Good question. Good question. Slow down. Like lots of people, when you're new and you've got loads of things you want to say, you can be apt to gabble. Why is gabbling bad? Because it's not clear. Kind of
Yeah,
made loads of sense to me when I saw Chris Rock say, the reason most jokes fail is because you didn't set up your premise clearly enough. You
that's right.
didn't set up your premise clearly enough. Chris Rock often says things three times, and he will
Yes, yes, he
fail if
does.
you
Yes, he
not set
does.
up your premise clearly enough. So I guess it would be not setting up your premise clearly enough.
Sorry, Ben. I'm literally about to piss myself.
Go for
Could
it,
you
go
could
for
you
it.
just give me 2 minutes? Then
Cool.
I promise we'll end it very soon after that.
No worries, man. No worries.
I know, Ben, that you, and I'm sure everyone listening to this will totally understand from the brilliant answers you've given, but you also help other comics with their sets, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. How does that work?
Um, how does that work? It works with me. Usually, they'll send me some stuff, footage or written out jokes or whatever, or just like heading. Sometimes they've got no idea, and then either I love to do both these things. Either we'll go through like themes, kind of like, oh, doesn't it make more sense to do that there? Because if you've talked about that there, then that can sort of call back there, or kind of, or people will be feeling sorry for you at this point. So you need so either's like the structure of the show, but I also love like the real detail about what word goes where in a punchline, or like tags and stuff, or kind of, everyone's different. Some people can only work out material on stage. That's labor intensive, but that's the only way some people can do it. Some people, it's all about just writing it down and crossing it out. But for a lot of people, it's just talking through a bit. Most people are much funnier in conversation than they are written down. Um, and often it just doesn't feel like work. It just feels like uh talking through people's ideas with them. And I'm quite lucky. I really love stand-up. So I like
Yeah,
talking to people's ideas with them. Kind of,
so do I.
when I teach new people, brand new people, it brings me a lot of joy when people tease out new takes, even on sometimes I'll give people deliberately really hacky topics because people will like still unearth new perspectives on it. And
Yeah.
so yeah, at its best, it's like it doesn't feel like work at all. It just feels like lots of laughs. And
Yeah,
like
got it.
and sometimes people are like, oh, can I have that? It's like, yeah, we're working on your stuff. I don't have any jokes about being a Dutch lady or whatever.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
That
yeah,
would
yeah,
be
yeah.
odd for me. Um, so yeah, that's how it works normally, and it's yeah, loads of
This is
fun.
a question that might be hard for you to answer because it might be kind of a sort of subconscious type thing. But when you watch someone perform, what are the signs that they're going to get good before they're actually good?
I think fairly early on, it's that if you've seen people a couple of times, you go like, ah, that stuff that was good last time is better this time. Kind of like they've added a bit to that, or kind of so, and that just shows you that it's someone who's thinking about it, who's working at it. You know,
Yes.
like some people, I think like veterans can be kind of guilty of this. You kind of go like, ah, that bit's not as good as it was last time. Because you're bored of it or whatever. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
no, when you
yeah,
can see
yeah.
that someone's, and also I guess a really key thing is because you can't really shortcut experience. because that does just audiences can sort of tell from the aura, really,
Yeah, right.
um, sort of how experienced you are, and that really helps put people at their ease and all of that. But but yeah, when you can tell they've done a bit of work on the stuff in between. If they've got new stuff, it's like, wow, yeah, that guy I was telling you about the other day, who's great. Yeah, he's got all this great new stuff on Blair. Um, yeah, that's I think that's usually the giveaway. Also, some people. I remember seeing some interview with Arthur Smith once, and he went, "It takes everyone ages." Apart from he said he saw Peter Kay at his like second gig, and it was like, "This is very clear immediately," you know. Um, but that's very rare, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. There's one or two kind of prodigies in there, but not much. I agree with that totally, Ben. I think like this is called before, during, after. And I think what you were just talking about there is just kind of engagement in it. Before you start engaging with it, thinking, am I explaining this clearly? Is this something that's going to be relatable to these people in the room? When you're doing it, you're engaged with it. You aren't just kind of dialing it in. You're actually looking around the room and you're giving the impression that you believe in it. And then afterwards, it's about analyzing what you've done. Maybe you've just recorded the audio. Maybe you've set up a tripod and you watch it back and you go, oh, look at that. I was hunched over then. Next time I get on stage, I'm going to make sure I stand up straighter. I think so much of it, once you're engaging, you actually can't help but get better, can you?
Yeah, yeah. I think just the sheer act of having a little think about it. Because I quite understand when people are like, "Oh, that was stressful. Let's have a drink." Let's have a
Exactly.
drink and never think about it again.
Yes.
Because most people don't like public speaking. It's like, and I understand. I think there's a Seinfeld joke about so like public speaking is the number one fear. When they ask people to rate fears, the number one was public speaking. You know what number two was? Death. At a funeral, most people would rather be in the coffin than delivering the eulogy.
Right,
Like,
right.
so it's like so I get that people the temptation when you've done something that you find stressful, is just to be like, oh, and also I found, other parts of life, if there's something that's sort of been weighing on your mind that's stressful, um, once you've done it, you don't really feel like you have to do any other work the rest of the day. So
Yeah, right.
I think
Yeah.
if people did stand up in the morning, like they would get nothing done after. I think it's done at night because that's
Yeah, because then you can just but no, you're absolute. And what I say to people about analyzing or assessing afterwards is that it's actually the smallest part. You don't have to write reams and reams and reams of notes. If you're mumbling, you can pick that up within seconds. And without even writing a list, the next time you do it, your brain will go, oh, hang on, let's make sure that we speak clearer this time. You can get better so quickly just by watching back, can't you?
yeah, yeah, and it's hard to do. It's hard to do because it's if you were nervous about the whole thing, or if you think like, oh God, I still watch the stuff back and I'll wince, and you go like, oh, why did you? It's less commonly why did I say that? It's like why didn't you do that? Kind of like, but that's good because it's you're training your you're training your brain to be better at that next time. You know,
Absolutely.
and that's what
Absolutely right, you are. Just
train your brain like it's a sheepdog.
yes, that's what you can do. People think it's just like cards that you're dealt and you can't change them and you can't swap the four for a queen or whatever it is. But it's not true. You can look at hands that you're dealt and you can change them. It's not
Into a dog.
predetermined. Maybe if you're into that kind of thing. I don't know. Ben Clover, this, I think we've done 20 minutes after you explicitly said we aren't allowed to do another 20 minutes because you're just such a nice guy. Ben,
The
last thing,
nursery's
buddy.
called so many times.
Yeah, yeah. Last thing before I let you do all of the things you got to do, probably before you pick your kids up from school, and then you got a whole bunch more crap to do. When Not if, when people have finished this podcast and realize they need more Ben Clover in their lives. What do they do, brother?
Ben Clover comedian on Instagram. That's got all the clips. I kind of not all the clips, some of the clips. Yeah, get me on that. And then DM me, and then I'll send you my email address. And you send me your email address, and then I'll send you that footage of me failing to address the guy in the 18th century admiral's uniform
All
in
right.
my unreleased special.
All right. That is exactly what we'll do. Please post more clips on socials, Ben, because you are just so funny. And also, I'd love to get you down to do some more Smirk Experience shows as well.
Always so much fun. Always so much fun.
Thank you so much for your time, brother, and
Thanks for having me,
have a
son.
good rest of your day.
You too. All right.
There he goes, Mr. Ben Clover. What a lovely bloke, and just effortlessly funny too. As ever, here are three takeaways from that chat. Firstly, don't wing it. Prepare. So-called natural speakers have already put the work in. So should you. Secondly, read the room before you read your notes. Bad speakers have got a cookie cutter, one size fits all approach. Good speakers look at an audience and tailor their message to them. And lastly, evidence beats emotion every single time. You might not want to, but listen to what you've done. I can assure you it will very rarely be as bad as what you thought it was. Thank you for listening to Before, During, After, a Smirk Experience podcast about performance from the inside. If you've enjoyed it, why not share it with someone who you think might get it? And give us a follow while you're at it. See you next time.